Man, 2023 really spoiled us with some amazing games. Go check out my list if you haven't yet. But now, 2023 has come and gone, so let's stop talking about that. And it's now time to look at our new year, 2024. So today, I will be counting down my top 10 most anticipated games of 2024. Now, these games have to be confirmed for this year, so no games like Wolverine, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and, once again, Metroid Prime 4. Also, remakes are allowed, but only if it's looking to be different enough. And lastly, this is my opinion, so it needs to be games that I personally am excited to play. So, for example, I've just never really gotten into Like a Dragon or Warhammer 40k. So, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 won't be on this list. I know a lot of people are excited for those games, but yeah, no, not quite me. And that also means it needs to release on hardware that I have access to. Anyways, let's get into this. But before we do that, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell, leave a comment, or I will twist your bones.
I wanted to give to you, in the last part of your notes here, the significance spiritually of the number 10 in the Bible.
You know, Mario always goes on his many adventures, and I know in recent games he's been letting Luigi, Peach, and Toad tag along with him, but Luigi has his own adventures capturing ghosts, and Toad has his own adventures as Captain Toad. But Peach gets the short end of the stick, only getting her own game once. But now we get to make that twice, with Princess Peach Showtime. It's bittersweet, first of all. As far as we know, Metroid Prime 4 possibly notwithstanding, Princess Peach Showtime is going to be the last first-party Nintendo release for the Switch that isn't a remake, remaster, or re-release. So that's already bittersweet. But it doesn't seem like a lazy attempt at that, as it's not just a simple platformer, as Princess Peach can transform into a detective, a sword fighter, a baker, a kung fu fighter, and more. I'm excited for Princess Peach Showtime as it releases for Nintendo Switch on March 22nd. I feel like we've been waiting on Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 for a long time. It was announced in 2019, but I feel we've been getting very few updates on the game throughout the many years we've been seeing it. But either way, each time we see this game, I get more and more excited for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. The sequel to the criminally overlooked but very good Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, Senua's Saga looks like a massive step up from the first game, as being backed by Microsoft, the game clearly has a much bigger budget. Not to mention, Senua's Saga is looking way darker and way gorier than the first game. All this and more makes me very eager to play Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 as it releases on Xbox Series and PC sometime in 2024.
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
It seems like we've been hearing a lot about the budgets of certain games and how games like Spider-Man 2 cost like $300 million, but then games like Ghost of Tsushima from 2020 only cost 60 mil. But this isn't about Ghost of Tsushima, because as much as I love that game, and excited I am for its inevitable sequel, there's another samurai game coming to PlayStation, and that is Rise of the Ronin. I'll admit, I wasn't originally won over by Rise of the Ronin. It seemed like it blended a little too much with all the other samurai games we've been getting, even being one of now 2 samurai IPs that are published by Sony. But after the recent trailer, I am stoked. The environments all over that we've been seeing look really damn cool, along with the gliding mechanics, parkour, and even the guns. Not to mention, Rise of the Ronin is set to be Neo meets Ghost of Tsushima, and while the former is not quite a game for me, this still sounds awesome. I'm super excited for Rise of the Ronin as it releases on PS5 on March 22nd, the same day as Princess Peach Showtime. Damn.
36. Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
7.
Prince of Persia has been dormant since God knows how long. After researching Forgotten Sands on the DS 14 years ago. Crazy. What's even crazier is that it's been even longer since we got a new 2D Prince of Persia game. But we won't have to worry about that, as we are getting a new one with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. When this game was first revealed, people really shat on it, and I don't quite know why. Maybe it was the bizarre music choice, or maybe people didn't like the aesthetic. But I kind of like the aesthetic, or maybe people don't want a 2D Prince of Persia game. But honestly, I think this is the best way to bring back the series. I'm digging the visual style, like I said, and the Metroidvania style levels look awesome. Plus, the story seems different. Instead of playing as the prince himself, you seem to actually be playing as a character named Sargon, who is rescuing the Prince of Persia, who got abducted. That's interesting. I can't wait to play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown as it arrives on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC on January 15th. That's this month.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score?
6.
The thought of an open world Star Wars game sounds awesome, and then you realize we kind of already got that with last year's Star Wars Jedi Survivor and the year before's LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. But I'd say the open world wasn't really the draw for either of those games, but it seems to be a very exciting piece of Star Wars Outlaws. This seems like an interesting new direction for Star Wars games. Of course, like I mentioned, it's going to have a massive open world. On top of that, you don't play as a Jedi, but rather an outlaw named Kay Vess, who is more akin to like a bounty hunter or a Han Solo type character, but like, an outlawish Han Solo type character, as opposed to a Jedi. Additionally, there are some stealth mechanics that look quite interesting, and what else is interesting is that this game is being developed by Massive Entertainment and being published by Ubisoft, making it the first legit Star Wars game not published by EA, nor is it being a LEGO game since Star Wars Connect. But I did say legit Star Wars game, so it'll be the first non-EA, non-LEGO Star Wars game since Force Unleashed 2. That's wild. I'm excited to play Star Wars Outlaws on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC sometime this year.
Chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Sometimes a game comes out and flies under the radar, but then over the course of like 12 years, it gets a sizable fan base, which leads to a sequel. Well, this seems to have happened to Dragon's Dogma with Dragon's Dogma 2. This looks like a true new-gen experience, along with smooth-looking combat and engaging story. Not to mention, the open world looks all the more massive, and I'm mostly just happy that this Cap God version of Capcom is making a new Dragon's Dogma game, looking to be a big new Western fantasy RPG. It shows that Capcom are not just going for the money. It's also worth noting that Dragon's Dogma 2 will be Capcom's first $70 game, and also their first game to be PS5 and Xbox Series exclusive, which to me, I think that says a lot. I cannot wait for Dragon's Dogma 2 as it releases for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on March 22nd. Well, that is the same day as Rise of the Ronin and the same day as Princess Peach Showtime. Oh boy. Suikoden is a JRPG franchise I never really got into, but it was made by Konami when they were good, but now they are not good. But this is when they were good. And oddly enough, they are remastering the first two games, which I think is really neat. But then there's a whole new spiritual successor for Suikoden coming this year with Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This is one massive Kickstarter campaign. The most successful game on Kickstarter, in fact. And I think it shows. as it looks super ambitious and stunning with its sort of 2D HD visual style. The story seems interesting just going off of the trailers, the music sounds awesome, and it just looks so cool. And even though it might be a spiritual successor to Suikoden, as it has a lot of people that made those games, behind this one, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes also has talent from Castlevania, Star Ocean, Tales, Wild Arms, and even more. Not to mention 100 playable party members. That is insane. The only thing keeping this game back for me is a couple of years ago we got a sort of prequel to this game with Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, and it was really rather boring and disappointing, but even then, that was the holdover game, while this is the real deal. I cannot wait for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes as it releases for PS4, PS5, Switch, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series, including Game Pass Day 1 on April 23rd. You know, I feel I've gone on record saying that I don't like roguelikes. Not that I hate them, because I really like the idea of them, but in practice, they're just not for me. While there is a small handful of them that I do like, there's only one that I actually love, and that is Hades. And because Hades was so good, we are now getting Hades 2. Now, I almost considered not including Hades 2 on this list, and it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a roguelike, but rather, it's the early access version of the game is set to release this year, not quite the full version, at least not yet. And on top of that, it's really set to release on PC, the early access version, with the full version releasing on everything later on. And full transparency, I don't really have a very good PC, and I don't really play PC games in general, so I might actually have to wait even longer to play this one, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. The first Hades was a roguelike unlike any other, with its story, characters, narrative, and combat. Hades 2 seems to be taking what made Hades 1 so great and building upon it. Instead of playing as Hades' son, Zagreus, you play as his daughter, Melinoe. Not to mention, this is the first sequel by Supergiant Games, which I think says a lot. I am stoked for Hades 2 as it releases early access on Steam and Epic Games Store sometime this year and slated for release for, PC, but also PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series sometime this year.
What kind of pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
2023 was a particularly great year for fighting games. I mean, a Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat game releasing 4 months from each other, but the fighting game renaissance doesn't stop there, as very soon, in fact, we are getting Tekken 8. This game is shaping up to possibly be the most stacked Tekken game, with a roster consisting of a crazy amount of veterans, some of which I never thought we'd see again, like June, along with some new characters that look really cool. Characters like Azucena, or however you say her name, Victor, and Reina, all look really damn sick. But in addition to the newcomers, a lot of veterans seem to be overhauled, some in both character design and in their movesets. Not to mention, the story, of course, seems intriguing, and also, fuck yeah, Leroy is back. I feel like we've been just waiting patiently for Tekken 8 for a year and a half now, but it'll finally be time to play it, as it releases for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC later this month, on January 26, 2024. Before we get to number 1, here's some honorable mentions.
Luigi, #1.
If you know me, there should be no question. My most anticipated game for the year of 2024 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The original Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games of all time, with one of the most engaging and memorable stories, with one of the most memorable cast of characters of any game ever made. The Final Fantasy VII Remake served almost as a reimagining of the first game, remaking only the Midgar section of the game, but then with one slight thing happening caused the entire timeline to change. So now this is a completely new timeline where anything can happen. Aerith can survive while different characters die. Sephiroth can be good and we can have a new villain. Zack will likely be a party member. All bets are off. Not to mention Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks huge. Remake was by no means small, but it wasn't like quite an open world game, which is fine, but Rebirth is looking absolutely packed. So big in fact, it's being split into 2 discs. That's how you do it. I cannot wait to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as it drops for the PS5 on February 29th. And that's my list of the most anticipated games, my most anticipated games of 2024. If I sound a little out of it, that's because I am sick. I am definitely sick. In fact, this recording's going on long enough because I had to reread most of the lines because I just messed up, and I also had to stop because of coughing and shit. But yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. My first video of the year. I believe it's the first video I'm recording of the year. It should be the first video of mine that comes out of the year. What are your most anticipated games of the year? Let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to subscribe or I will twist your bones. Bye!